All right, let's dive straight into today's explainer because the news from May 22nd, 2026 is absolutely massive. We are quite literally watching the modern AI ecosystem being built from the ground up right before our eyes. We're talking billions of dollars shifting overnight, geopolitical tensions turning into literal smuggling rings, and an all-out war for consumer attention. To make sense of all this madness, we're going to break it down into four foundational layers: hardware and cloud, consumer AI and media, enterprise and government adoption, and finally, global policy and regulation. Let's just get right into it.
Starting right at the bedrock, Section 1, Hardware and Cloud. Look, you simply can't build AI without some serious physical infrastructure, right? Case in point, Modal Labs. They're a serverless cloud platform built specifically for running AI inference, and they just secured a massive $355 million in Series C funding. That completely skyrockets their valuation to an astonishing $4.65 billion. I mean, to put that in perspective, they were valued at just $1.1 billion back in 2025. That kind of exponential climb just screams how desperate the market is for efficient AI cloud platforms right now.
And right on the heels of that infrastructure boom, traditional hardware giants are absolutely cashing in. Lenovo's stock just shot up 15%, hitting near record highs. Why? Well, they reported that their dedicated AI server and AI PC revenue practically doubled year over year. This explosive demand for physical computing just handed Lenovo the strongest fiscal year in the entire history of their technology group. It's wild.
But to make sure that hardware keeps evolving at this crazy breakneck pace, the industry isn't just flying solo anymore. They're forming these super alliances. We've got major tech heavyweights, Meta, Broadcom, Applied Materials, GlobalFoundries, and Synopsys, all pulling their resources to launch a $125 million semiconductor hub at UCLA. They're literally bringing the top academic minds and corporate engineers under one roof with a single mission: to force breakthroughs in next-gen AI chip architectures.
What's really fascinating here, though, is that the demand for compute is so intense, it's starting to blur traditional loyalties. Get this. Anthropic, a company with deep, multi-billion-dollar ties to Google, is actively negotiating to lease cloud servers powered by Microsoft's custom in-house AI silicon. We're seeing internal docs showing Anthropic relying more and more on Microsoft Azure infrastructure since late 2025. It really just goes to show that when it comes to raw compute power, these companies will cross any alliance line to get the hardware they need.
Moving up to Layer 2, Consumer AI and Media. Essentially, what are they actually building for the end user? Well, they're building things like Hark. This is a brand new hardware startup from Figure AI CEO Brett Adcock. And their whole mission is to build specialized AI-powered physical devices. And let me tell you, investors are completely buying the vision. Hark just raised over $700 million in their Series A, landing them an immediate post-money valuation of $6 billion. Guys, $6 billion for a Series A. The appetite for specialized consumer AI gadgets is just voracious right now. Over in the digital realm, major platforms are totally rethinking how we create content. Spotify, for instance, is rolling out two very different AI plays. First up, Spotify Labs just dropped a preview of Studio across 20 global markets. It's kind of like Google's Notebook LM. You upload your written notes or data, and it automatically spits out a private, personalized audio podcast just for you. So imagine commuting while listening to a podcast made entirely of your own meeting notes. On the flip side, Spotify is teaming up with Universal Music Group for a new premium feature that lets paid subscribers create AI-generated covers and remixes using actual UMG artists. So you've got personal productivity on one side and highly engaging entertainment remixing on the other.
Meanwhile, as synthetic audio gets incredibly realistic, Eleven Labs is making a brilliant strategic play to bridge the gap between AI tech and traditional publishing. They just announced licensing deals for 200,000 audiobooks, voiced by actual, real human narrators. They're dropping this massive library right into their 11-reader AI platform for an $11 a month subscription. It's this super interesting blend of cutting-edge AI distribution with premium, human-made content.
All right, let's shift gears to Section 3, Enterprise and Government Adoption.
Consumer tools might get all the hype, but enterprise and government contracts, that's where the real tectonic shifts happen. Looking at federal AI records from 2025, the battlefield is totally lopsided. Out of more than 400 tracked government use cases, OpenAI's ChatGPT completely dominates with 234 identified deployments. Google's Gemini is trailing way behind at 33, and Anthropic's Claude is at 26. But get this, xAI's Grok was utilized in exactly 3 of those instances. 3! The gap between the market leader and the newer players in the federal space is just a massive chasm.
Because these enterprise contracts are so incredibly lucrative, the corporate maneuvering is getting fierce and extremely calculated. Case in point, a joint venture backed by Anthropic, Blackstone, and Hellman and Friedman just swooped in and outright acquired an AI coding startup called Fractional AI. And here's the real kicker. Because of this buyout, Fractional AI is actively winding down its pre-existing enterprise deal with rival OpenAI. They aren't just buying up talent or tech here. They are literally carving away their competitors' market share in real time.
Which brings us perfectly to our final layer, Section 4, Global Policy and Regulation.
All this crazy, rapid institutional adoption is really forcing the hand of global gatekeepers, and sometimes that means slamming on the brakes. Over in the UK, London's Mayor Sadiq Khan just completely blocked a £50 million data integration contract between the Metropolitan Police and Palantir. This deal was meant to deploy Palantir's tools to automate police intelligence analysis, but it got totally halted over what city officials called a clear and serious breach of formal procurement rules. It's a pretty stark reminder that no matter how powerful the tech is, it still has to survive the red tape and rigid frameworks of local government bureaucracy. At the highest national levels, the regulatory debate is even hotter. In the US, the White House actually had to postpone a scheduled ceremony where President Trump was set to sign a major executive order on AI and cybersecurity. The reason? Last-minute pushback from massive tech leaders and investors, including Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, and David Sachs. Sachs reportedly made the case that forcing mandatory federal safety reviews on frontier models before release would just slow down innovation. The core argument they're making is entirely geopolitical. Strict safety rules at home could hold the US back in its broader, highly competitive AI race against China.
And to prove just how high stakes and physical that global hardware race against China has gotten, we're seeing it spill over into major criminal investigations. Authorities in Taiwan are actively hunting down suspects accused of forging export documents. Prosecutors say this ring was falsifying shipping manifests to illegally smuggle high-end supermicro servers loaded with those heavily restricted, highly coveted NVIDIA AI chips straight into China, Hong Kong, and Macau. They were doing this to explicitly bypass U.S. trade restrictions. The battle for AI supremacy isn't just happening in lines of code, it is literally playing out on cargo ships with forged paperwork.
So as we wrap up today's explainer, I really want to leave you with this final thought. We are watching massive, multi-billion-dollar investments fuel groundbreaking consumer software. At the very same time, we're seeing intense corporate warfare for enterprise contracts and literal international hardware smuggling rings. You really have to ask, will the relentless drive for technological dominance inevitably outpace our ability to actually regulate this global AI ecosystem? Can any single government actually control or even effectively contain the sheer momentum of the infrastructure being built around us right now? It's the defining question of our era, and I highly encourage you to keep exploring how these 4 layers, hardware, consumer, enterprise, and policy, continue to collide. Thanks for hanging out with me on this deep dive.